Hey, what's up, Internet peoples? Todd here, and I bet you're all wondering why I'm all dressed up today. Well, after reading through the script, I found out I get to be on Deal or No Deal. That's so awesome. It's a total surprise. I've always wanted to be on a game show,
Uh,
and I'm just
me?
really excited
Me?
to,
Hold up. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Just yeah.
What?
I think I might be confused about the script here.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
You're not going on Deal or No Deal.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yeah. No. You're doing a review, a Clone Wars review, for the episode Deal No Deal. Yeah. It says it right here in the script.
What?
Right.
Wait. Deal, No Deal, Clone Wars review. Oh.
Yeah. You see it. You see it right.
Oh, yeah, no. I totally
Yeah.
read that wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, yeah, it makes sense. It's Friday.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the confusion there, though I thought I wrote that pretty obviously.
Yeah, no.
I'm surprised you thought you were going on a game show. Our channel has nothing to do with that.
Look, I just really wanted to meet Howie Mandel and be on a game show. It's fine. It's fine. You know what? I'll do the review. It's fine. Hey, sorry about that mix-up back there. I mean, I read the script wrong. I'm gonna have to fire somebody. What's that? I'm the only employee here. I wrote the script. I'm talking to myself right now. Okay. Yeah, so it's all on me. But hey, what can you expect from a host that doesn't even wear pants while he does this? I'm just kidding. Or am I? Well, anyways, we're here to talk about the 6th episode of The Clone Wars, Season 7, that just came out today, being Friday, or a few days ago, or yesterday, or whenever you're watching this. And this continues the story that was set up in last week's episode with Ahsoka sort of teaming up with Trace and Rafa, who were the two sisters she met in the last episode. And we do get some pretty good, interesting scenes in this episode. It opens up with Ahsoka and Trace working on Trace's starship, which she has named the Silver Angel. And everyone gives her a lot of crap for that name. I don't know why. I think it's fine, personally. But hey, what do I know? I'm the guy who, when he was a kid, made a superhero with electromagnetic powers and named him Maglectro. So, yeah, what do I know about creative names? But yeah, no, we do get this scene where Rafa comes in. She catches him working. She tells him, hey, I got a job for you. Turns out my pilot bailed on me and took my starship that I was renting out, so I need your starship, Trace. And she's like, well, why didn't you tell me earlier? Why am I your backup? And she's like, well, I was trying to protect you and all that, and I'll talk more about that later. And we do get some tension between Ahsoka and Rafa here. We're starting to set up a little bit of a rivalry between the two. Rafa doesn't really trust Ahsoka. Right before they get on the ship, she kind of steps in Ahsoka's way and is like, okay, what's your angle here, okay? Listen, don't you mess with my sister, alright? And Ahsoka's like, I don't want anything. I'm just trying to make sure you guys don't get in any trouble. Yeah, we'll see about that, okay? Well, they board the Silver Angel and fly off of platform 1313 to go on this mission. Trace accidentally merges into a Republic military flight lane that's restricted, and Ahsoka's like, get out of here, get out of here. And they get in a little bit of trouble with a Republic ship, and actually the officer that starts yelling at him over the comm is Admiral Yularen, who we haven't seen in a while, and I think that's really cool. And boy, has he gotten old in the past few years. I mean, this show only takes place over the course of 4 years. At the beginning of the war, he looks like, this, and now at the end of it, he's looking like this, and geez, Anakin's really stressed him out a lot, hasn't he? But speaking of Anakin's actually there, and I actually really, really love this scene because it pays a lot of homage to a few other scenes in Star Wars. Anakin kind of reaches out with the Force and senses Ahsoka on board. Admiral Yularen's all like, I was just about to send an attachment to arrest them. Shall I proceed? Anakin's like, no, let them go. They're fine. But the scene is played out much like Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader reaches out to senses and senses Luke Skywalker on the Lambda class shuttle as they're heading for Endor, and Admiral Piet is all like, "Well, I have an old code, sir, but it checks out. I was about to let him pass by. Should I proceed?" And Vader's all like, yeah, go ahead, let him pass. But it also kind of reminded me of a scene in Star Wars Rebels that also had Anakin and Ahsoka, where Darth Vader is attacking Phoenix Squadron in his TIE fighter, and Ahsoka's on board on the rebel ship, the Ghost, and they reach out with the Force, Vader and Ahsoka, and Vader kind of senses her, and he's like, huh. And it reminded me of both scenes, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I loved it. It was great. But yeah, no, they go on their mission, and yeah, Trace doesn't really seem like she's that great of a pilot. She boasts about being the greatest pilot in 1313, but you find out she's never traveled through hyperspace. She's never left the planet. She's a lot like Rey, except, actually has to struggle to become a good pilot. Their first stop is on Kessel, which I thought was really cool. We get to see them go through that cloud tunnel through the Kessel Run. Not the same one, Han Solo pulled off. Obviously, there is a path through Kessel to go through the Maelstrom, and they just go down that path. But it's the same one we see in Solo, A Star Wars Story. But we also get some interesting tidbits here as well. Apparently, not all of Kessel is a giant wasteland where they're mining spice. Apparently, there's some beautiful green areas of the planet, kind of similar to Naboo, actually. But we do also get to see the areas with spice and it being mined, and Ahsoka, Rafa, and Trace, you're like, oh crap, they're using slaves. That's bad. And we do get some social commentary here, where Rafa's like, oh, they can't be slaves. The Republic would have shut them down for having a slave operation this large. And Ahsoka's like, you'd think so, yeah. Ahsoka has come across slaves throughout her career as a Padawan. And unfortunately, because the Republic is just so busy with the war, and so are the Jedi, a lot of the criminal underworlds have thrived and been able to commit such atrocities like slavery. And unfortunately, the Republic isn't doing anything about it, especially since they benefit from it, because spice is used to make medicine for the war. So you can definitely get a little hint of Ahsoka's disenfranchisement with both the Jedi and the Republic to some extent. She's really starting to see there's a lot of problems with the government and the Order as a whole. One thing I also find interesting to this episode is how naive Rafa and Trace both happen to be. I mean, Rafa's the older sister, and she does seem a little bit less naive than Trace is, but she still seems naive to how the rest of the galaxy works, which is interesting because that makes them a polar opposite of Ahsoka and the Jedi as a whole. I mean, the Jedi, like Ahsoka was, they were so busy and they were in touch with the rest of the galaxy. They were traveling to all these different planets, so they're aware of all these greater and bigger problems that are happening in the galaxy. But they seem very naive when it comes to common everyday things on Coruscant and in the underworld, as opposed to, say, Trace and Rafa, who do live in the underworld of Coruscant. So they're very much in touch with what's going on down there and the problems that happen with the everyday man, but they're clueless to what's going on in the rest of the galaxy. They don't know how bad the Pike Syndicate is or about slave trading on Kessel. They're just looking to make their way through the galaxy. So I hope that through this arc we get to see both Ahsoka and the Martez sisters really grow in some way and kind of come together in that way and teach each other. Maybe open Trace and Rafa's eyes to bigger problems outside of their own issues. Maybe realize the Jedi kind of have their hands full. They're not ignoring them. And maybe also helps Ahsoka see some of the issues she's been blind to because she's been so busy with the war. Something else that gets brought up that I'm kind of interested in seeing how this develops. I'm not so sure how to feel about Trace and Rafa's relationship. Rafa is the older sister to Trace, as I've mentioned before. But she seems very controlling in many ways. There are some scenes where I'm genuinely confused as to whether she actually is just being strict and being an overprotective sister, or if she's just being manipulative because she's afraid to lose her and doesn't want her running off and leaving her alone on 1313. Because her behavior kind of flip-flops in some areas. In some areas you think, oh, she's just doing this because she's just being overprotective. And either way, she's being very controlling over Trace. But I'm having a hard time figuring out whether she genuinely cares about Trace. I mean, you see scenes where Rafa's trying to like be the voice whispering in Trace's ear, saying, "You can't trust Ahsoka. You can only trust your family. Family's the only thing in your life that you can count on. I'm your big sister. We're in this together. I'm the only person you can trust." And that sounds very much like someone who's very manipulative and is trying to control someone. There was even a scene, as I mentioned before, Rafa hired a different pilot besides Trace, and she later admits in the episode it's because she didn't think Trace was ready for it. She's not that great of a pilot, and her ship probably isn't that well suited for the mission, so she didn't want to ask her, but she didn't even tell Trace she was doing this mission. So Trace is like, "What, you were going to leave me?" And she's like, No, I was going to come back. I promise. I was just going to be gone for a little bit, and I was going to come back, which could have been true, but I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the relationship between Mission Veo and her brother in Knights of the Old Republic. Griff was his name. If you're not familiar with that game, there's a character, one of your companions is named Mission. She has an older brother named Griff, and there's a side mission where you end up finding him. They both were orphans on Taris, and Griff ended up leaving her to do some quick scheme and abandoned her on Taris. He was only concerned about trying to make the next quick buck. And of course, Mission was oblivious to this. She thought that, Griff was taken from her by some girl that Griff was dating at the time. So she idolized her brother, and then when she finally found out she was abandoned, not her brother wasn't taken away, she got really upset. So there's a lot of elements between the two of them that remind me of those characters. So I'm interested to see how their relationship develops over the next few episodes. I really hope Rafa has Trace's best interests at heart. I may be the only one thinking this, but I see a lot of signs and a lot of behavior from Rafa that feels like almost an abusive relationship. Not a physically abusive one, but more of a mentally abusive one. Someone who's trying to control them. And it was one of the big plot points of this episode is the mission ends up being a spice run. Basically, they pick up some spice from Kessel and are going to deliver it to the Pike Syndicate. Ahsoka's all like, that's not a good idea. Spice running is illegal. Also, the Pikes are terrible crime bosses. They're not like the gangsters on Coruscant. They're like evil gangsters. So they're not going to use this spice for good. And she gets into a fight with Rafa, and Trace starts to panic because Ahsoka mentions that, they'll most likely steal from them. They might take the ship. They're those kinds of gangsters. And all Trace can think about is, they're going to steal my ship. They're going to steal my ship. Like, oh crap, what am I going to do? I put so much time and effort into this ship. I've given everything into this thing. They're going to take away my life savings, essentially. And so she keeps repeating to herself, they're not taking this ship. They're not taking this ship. And she panics and decides to just dump all the spice, which is such a bad idea. And that creates the big conflict of this episode. Because now, the Pike Syndicate, I think she says 30,000 credits worth of spice. And they can't deliver. So, yeah, that's a problem. And I normally am not a big fan of these kinds of scenarios or stories where it's someone's lack of experience or stupidity that ends up being the driving force of an episode. It's like where things go wrong because someone was an idiot. Not because of outside circumstances or someone made a big mistake or decision that was character driven. It's, no, I'm an inexperienced person who really shouldn't be here in the first place, and I'm going to make a dumb decision. Boop, 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 boop. We see this all the time in Star Wars stories. I mean, Jar Jar Binks is pretty much, it's his character to do this kind of stuff. I mean, we see it in Ezra Bridger, Kaz from Resistance, and also Niku from Resistance. Like, they're always doing something stupid that just ruins everything, and that just kind of becomes their thing. I really hope that's not the case with Trace. I'm kind of giving Trace a little bit the benefit of the doubt here because she's just a kid and she was panicking. She's not a stupid character. She's very intelligent. She's smart. She's just a bit naive. And she just made a heat-of-the-moment decision. So I wouldn't say she's like the Jar Jar of this episode or something, but it does kind of bother me a little bit, but not as bad as, say, scenes with Jar Jar where, he destroys a droid that they're trying to interrogate because he's trying to catch a butterfly and stuff. It's like, I hate. Look, you all know my opinions on Jar Jar, okay? I won't go into that, but yeah. Yeah, I just prefer when stories, have create drama because either someone has outsmarted the main character, circumstances outside of their control have happened, like say a supernova is about to go off and they have to get everyone off of a space station before it happens. That's not because someone was an idiot and pulled a lever and almost killed everyone. That's just a natural disaster outside of people's control. Or when like Grand Admiral Thrawn outsmarts the rebels and they're on the run because Thrawn is a brilliant mastermind. It seems like though they're able to make it work. We get this really cool scene. I did like Ahsoka comes up with this really terrible botched plan just like Anakin would. And it's what she's used to doing. Even they're all telling her, this is a horrible plan. They're like, well, you guys got a better one? Nope. Okay, we're doing this. But yeah, they get to the homeworld of the Pikes. They deliver the boxes, and Ahsoka uses a mind trick to tell them, yeah, there's spice in there. We're good to go. You can pay us. We can leave. But then one of the other Pike guards who didn't get a mind trick is like, what, guys, seriously? We should check the crates first. And they end up being empty, so they all get surrounded by gunships and are probably captured. And that's where the episode ends. Cliffhanger. What? Like, literally, it's a cliffhanger. They're literally on the side of a cliff in their spaceship trying to fly away, and they're surrounded by tractor beams on this cliff, and they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? And ba-da, episode's over. All in all, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this episode. I really felt like it was much less of a filler episode. We were actually able to get some action in. We got to see some beautiful locations, and I really, really liked that. We got to see Kessel again. We also got to see the homeworld of the Pikes, and of course Coruscant. So we were planet hopping a little bit, as opposed to last episode. We were where we just were on 1313, and whereas I thought that episode was pretty slow, though still enjoyable, this was much better. And I look forward to the part 2 of this, because I'm sure it's going to be a really exciting arc, and I'm really excited to see how this affects Ahsoka. Because obviously they chose this arc for this season because it was important to Ahsoka's story, and I'm starting to see why that's so important in helping shape her views and maybe shaping her to be someone who's not really a Jedi anymore, but still follows the light. But yeah, those were my general thoughts of this episode. Overall, I really enjoyed it. What did you guys think about the episode? Let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, hit the like button for this video. It really helps out my channel. And, if you feel obliged and you like the content I've provided here, or content on the rest of my channel, if you've watched any of my other videos, maybe consider subscribing. And then, of course, hitting the notification bell so that you're notified of any new videos I come out with. I upload at least one video a week, so you're guaranteed to have a new video from me at least once every week. Stay tuned until next week, where I finally go on Deal or No Deal.
You're not going
What?
on Deal or No Deal.
Okay, so that's definitely not happening
We've
then.
discussed this already.
Okay, fine, whatever. Just stay tuned till next week, where I'll have another video out. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.